Hello everyone, we're going to be talking about Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. This is a child's fantasy book.
Youth.
Okay, youth.
Young adults.
I'm 18 now and I read it when I was like 14 and 15, so I don't know if I would actually sit down and read the whole series again just because it is slightly younger grammar. More like, well, for more mature 10-year-olds through probably 14 or 15 is probably the best age. Although it might be fun to reread again, I'm not really sure. I love the plot though, even though it is really simple writing, the plot is really, really fantabulous. Brandon Mull is a genius when it comes to creating worlds. In fact, he does this little speech thing that he goes around and talks about sometimes, and he talks about his creative process and how he absolutely loves creating worlds, and he's a genius at it. So, quick little synopsis. Basically, Fablehaven is one of the last surviving kind of sanctuaries for fantastical and mythological creatures. It's supposed to be that they actually do exist in the real world, but there was huge conflicts and lots of bad things went on, and so the creatures needed to be protected so that they wouldn't become extinct. And so years earlier, the civilizations all grouped together and formed what I think they're actually called sanctuaries. And what are they called?
They're called like preservatories.
Yeah, preservatories.
Because it sounds
Preserves?
like because it sounded like you're preserving cans of food. So I thought it was going to be a stupid.
Yeah, but the point is that nobody knows that they exist except for the people who run the camp.
Yeah,
so have all the creatures. So the world doesn't know.
Exactly. So Fablehaven is one of the It's actually a really, really special one. I'm not going to say why, but it's actually especially special. It's like, it's already special, but then it's specialer because of something that it has on it. It has like a really special item that helps you do something. Yeah, and I'm not going to give that away, but it's really cool. So yeah, and there's like all kinds of little things like that you just love about fantasy.
Yeah,
that's really good.
And Seth is the best.
What I kind of like about this is that so many fantasy books like to basically just do another J.R.R. or Tolkien or C.S. Lewis. I think J.R.R. Tolkien, I think he's been called like the father of modern fantasy. He kind of sort of started creating the genre. You know, he took mythological beings and then put them in sort of a more, well, I guess not modern, but in kind of a sort of a modern cultural context. And so he's kind of the author, the father of it. And most mythology, fantasy type stories, I think, have a tendency to really be like that. There's especially slightly smaller authors, kind of like Brandon Mull, who don't have a huge following, are very, very cliche with following that trend. But Brandon Mull has a way of kind of still following all of those fantasy ideals while still being very, very original. And it's so, so fun. So,
way to analyze the book, Joe.
I know, I'm super good. So there's some really good stuff in here, actually. Not in the first one, you have to read the whole series, but there comes a time where Seth, the boy, and this is about a book about Kendra and Seth, and how they find out about the preserve, and so they start becoming really, really involved with this whole world. So I think it's the third one, actually, where Seth actually starts working with, and slightly almost training, underneath what is considered a very evil creature.
The bad guy.
And it threw me off because, you know, Brandon Mull, I've researched a little bit about Brandon Mull, and he seems like to be a very moral, principled man. And I wasn't understanding why he would have a main character who is supposed to be good and use his powers for good to start working with the evil character. And I had a long discussion with these guys and my mom, actually. And okay, so I think it was it was one of you two.
I didn't even read the rest of the third one because I got bored.
Oh my god!
Wow,
the beginning,
great advertising.
No, the beginning of it was boring, but then the rest gets good.
It's cool. It's
a good book.
Second
he
one
gave up on it.
So
it's really
good.
cool.
The second one is like the best.
The point is, he's working with an evil guy, and I was like, no, you can't do that. He's a good guy. You can't work with evil. You're twisting the two, and this is gonna be bad. Well, eventually we started talking about it a lot, and we came to the conclusion that I actually thought was really cool, that the creatures are sort of like E.T., I guess you could say, like the movie E.T., that alien, because, you know, he can think, he can kind of talk, he actually kind of thinks through things and problem solves, and can decide. E.T., the character E.T., and he can actually think through things and solve problems, but at the same time, he kind of reminds you of a puppy dog. Like, some of the stuff that he does is kind of predictable. He's kind of his same own thing. Like he doesn't make the same kind of decisions and think through everything the same way that a normal human being would. And that's the way that all the creatures are. They can talk, they can communicate with the humans, they have emotions, but they're on a slightly lower level. They actually have a hard, solid inner core that's them, that they can't change because they're partly animalistic.
But there is some that are more like advanced than others and more human-like.
Right, but so this evil creature who Seth is working with is purely innately evil. And he can't change that about himself, but he can do some things for good. Because he can kind of choose that, but then he ends up being evil anyway, and you're like, no! But yeah, I think I explained that right. Yeah, read the series.
Anywho,
it's fantastic.
back to the first book.
Yeah, so the first book, which is the one we're actually talking about, but the whole series is great. If you read the first, you're going to get hooked on the rest. You really are.
Okay, so there's this one part in this book, right, where they're going and they're with their grandma and they go to this big giant creature thingy and they have to give him a massage, and it's pretty hilarious because they're like massaging this
and he
giant
has like all these like gold chains
it's
on
really
him and
great.
He's like super rich.
So yeah, that was funny. But I like in this how everyone is pretty much disobedient to the rules. That's not what I like.
I love that.
The point is that all the characters don't follow rules.
Okay, anyways, so, like, some of them, they don't follow the rules and stuff, but Kendra does, obedient to the end. Anyways, so, she's obedient, and then she gets rewarded the most at the end, and she gets a cool prize thing.
Yeah.
Not a prize, but she, like, gets all magical and
bad stuff doesn't really happen to her that much.
Yeah, because she's obedient. And then she gets... Never mind, I won't say that because that will be giving stuff away. So, yeah.
So yeah, obviously there's a lot of stuff that we don't want to give away because it's so good. So read it.
So you have another favorite part? Why do you like Seth so much?
Because he's a boss.
Why?
Because he's funny.
He's such a boy.
I know, he's like me, kind of. He doesn't really care about rules at all.
He's just like, I'm just gonna go.
Is that a good thing?
I don't know, but he gets better like throughout the book.
Because he doesn't care about rules at all, and then he breaks some, and a lot of rules that he breaks have super bad consequences.
Yeah, then he learns from them though. It's a good thing.
Yeah, but then he realizes that he can't break every rule, like,
which is
because.
But what's cool is
the one creepy part. Oh, with the.
But what's cool is that he learns through this one a little bit, but throughout the whole series.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's pretty so creepy.
Okay. Through this book, especially, but through the whole series.
Don't read chapter 9.
Yes, there's this one chapter.
Yeah.
I read it at night. Okay, I have a picture in it. I don't
It's the
remember what
second
chapter
book.
it was. No, it was this.
The first one.
It was
the second one's scary too, but
It's
the first
when
one's
they're
like...
in their bedroom. Anyways, don't read it at night because it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to sleep.
I was like
It
almost
super
crying.
scary.
It's
But
like,
I was a lot younger then, so if I read it at night now, I would just be able to go to sleep. But I was like 11.
Back to Seth.
I was
Okay,
like
but
9.
What's
okay,
important?
so
Like
should
9.
kids be really worried about that? Should parents be concerned
Well, there's
about
only
their
the one
kids?
chapter that really kind of freaked me out because there's.
Well, no, okay.
Yeah.
It puts an image in your mind and then you start crying.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's like a little baby and then like a wolf and you're just like. Anyways,
Okay,
it's really,
so there are a few.
so- it's creepy.
There are a few points that are both, they're kind of emotionally meh. There's a couple of points where he's really built it up really, really well, and then he sustains it, unlike some other authors. And so sustaining that emotional turbulence can get, I guess, a little rough for some younger kids. Like she said, there are a couple of parts where not necessarily, like his descriptions aren't really very horrific or gory or scary at all.
No.
And there's not really
It's
a lot
just
of...
the idea of it. You're just like, no.
The point is the
second
suspense
one
behind it.
is amazing.
There's one point that they're talking about in the second book where there's a really evil creature that does look pretty creepy, and he gives you a pretty good description of being like really creepy, might scare a little younger.
But it's so good if you
But
like
the
actually
point is
read it.
that it's the suspense that he spends several pages just talking about this evil thing coming up to him,
it's like-
and Seth can't move, and the way that he
But
describes
then
it
Seth
is
has to give his
beautiful.
courage, and it's all awesome. Okay, so there's 3 parts that I was the most scared at and stuff. There's one in this book, one in the second book, and one in I think the 4th book. And then there's other parts that are just like, oh, that was kind of creepy, or oh, that was kind of scary, but freaking awesome. So, yeah.
But I mean, if you're like our age, it doesn't scare you.
It's
only if
this
you're,
chapter,
like,
the Midsummer Eve. So don't read
Yeah.
that at night because it might scare you.
If you're younger, if you're older, it doesn't really matter.
So obedience was a theme in this book. Are there a couple of themes you
Right.
can think of?
Well, trying to finish off Seth, which I got interrupted like 5 billion times.
I like
Seth.
The thing about Seth is that he does break a lot of rules and a lot of terrible stuff happens, but throughout the series he starts learning actually a balance. Kendra always follows the rules and
She's kind of boring.
She gets a lot more rewarded
she
though,
gets
throughout the
way
whole
more
series.
rewarded. But then there's also a balance where every once in a while Seth learns that he has to follow most of the rules in order to become safe. But he learns how to make a judgment call where every once in a while there's a specific rule that at one point should be broken.
In order
Just a
for
little
For
bit.
the better good. And
For
then
the better
that
good.
ends up happening and then he ends up saving someone or something because he broke that rule. But it's not like, I don't know.
It's more like structural rules
it's better
versus
like
a principle.
making that
rule.
judgment. It's better to break this rule and do this good thing than to
Like
not break it and have this
Nephi.
super
Are we
bad
about
thing
to-
That's a
happen.
good way to put it, Jonas. So he might break a rule, but he's not breaking a principle.
Right.
Yeah, like a lower law and a higher law.
Yeah, and so it actually starts talking about that a little bit. So yeah, the way that they disobey or obey the two characters, it's good.
Pretty good.
Other themes?
What about Lena? Is there a theme?
Courage?
I remember Lena.
That's more the
That's the
second.
second. That's the second, and it's so freaking
Theme
good.
is the courage is the theme.
Oh
of
my
the
gosh! I
second
almost
book.
started crying in the second. Really, it's like the best part ever.
There was
Does it
this
help
the
one
most
relationship?
epic, the most scary, and the most good
Well,
part of.
He hasn't
any
even
book
read the
I've
rest
ever
of the
read.
series. They just get better.
It's
The fourth is
so
like,
is
whoa.
amazing, and then the fifth is even better. Like you read like after a chapter, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome, and then you keep on reading, and then it just gets better and better and better and better and better, and then it ends, and you're like, crap.
Maybe I should finish the series. I don't know.
Yeah. There's this one part in the second when I was like 12 that I read, and it kind of freaked me out, so I stopped reading them. But then I kept on reading them, and then it was awesome. And
The
I
second
So
is
talking
so
about this
amazing.
again, it's actually making me really want to go back and read them. Like I think I actually might. Like as soon as the school year's over, like beginning of the summer, I might go through the whole series again because it's fantastic. The one thing I do regret is not marking it a ton because like there's some really good stuff and some specific stories that I would really want to be able to find really fast and learn from, but I can't because I didn't mark it. Mark your books.
yeah, principle. That's a principle
One of
that
the
you need
one.
to use. Yep. So anyways, is that all we need to say?
So this is ugly because I've read it and loved it. So read it and love it.
And get
And-
the hardback version.
Hardback.
Get hardbacks.
Hardbacks
Because you'll
are
just-
Especially if you have a lot of kids in your family, because this will fall apart.
Is it a fun book to discuss?
Yeah. Obviously.
No, it's not very fun.
It's
We're
way
just-
funner though when you're reading the book. You're like, holy cow.
when you've just read it, because we haven't read it in a while. I read it when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13, because I read it in Texas.
So you keep saying that you like it so much. You've talked about obedience, but what if you could put your finger on it? What would you? Why do you like it so
I
much?
don't know. It's just
so
really good.
intriguing.
Yeah, it
Okay,
is.
the second
plot
book.
is really,
Second book,
really,
insane.
really well thought out. Like something that happens in the fifth happens because something happened in the first book, and you're like, holy crap!
Everything is way integrated. It was meant
really
to be a
awesome.
series, but each book is standalone at the same time. So it's really not like you could technically go into the fifth, be a little confused at the very beginning, and then read the whole thing and be perfectly content. Cool story. But
If you read the
but
first,
it's
the
way
second,
better
third,
when
and
you
the
read it
fourth.
as a whole series.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was supposed to be a full series, and so the way that he thinks through everything, there are so many things that you don't expect to happen that were gonna happen from the beginning. You know?
Yeah, so
It's-
you've got to pay attention.
Yeah,
you can't
or
be like
it's-
falling asleep while
so
you're
like I
reading.
say,
You're
it's really simplified writing just so that he can have a younger audience, but the plot is very sophisticated now that I really think about it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Book Fablehaven
By
by Brandon
Mull.
Mull. I'm holding the first one, but really you should read all five.
Because they're really cool colors too, like purple and.
Yeah, the second one's
orange.
like blue with like a big giant frog in front
They
of it.
should
Anyways.
make a movie.
Yeah, we tried to make a movie of it once. It was
Yeah.
really fun.
It was like at the lake house and like there was bugs everywhere.
And we
It was
said
kinda
every single word in the book in
Yeah.
our script. It
Yeah, I
really
was
great.
the baggage guy. It was pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, and I was Kendra. Okay, anyways, we're done. So
Oh.
goodbye.
Bye.
Toodles.